2 years ago, I was broke by many people's standards, and my only hope of any chance of retirement was to work until 65 to get Social Security and Medicare, and probably to supplement it with a part-time job as a Walmart greeter. I was waiting for permission to live. The problem was my job was toxic, my husband was unfaithful, inflation act like it doesn't even care about my wallet, and politicians are always running through my taxes like it's their own personal responsibility to rob me. Let's face it, I wasn't getting any younger, so I said, bump it. I did the math on how much it would cost me to live outside of the US, and I gave America my resignation letter. I was prepared to use what little savings I had to live in another country where my dollars would stretch way further than what I could spend in the US. And at this point, I really didn't even care where. I was just ready to go. I was tired of waiting to be able to live a life that I would love and a life that I could afford. So I sold my house, I got a divorce, I quit my job, and I donated or gave away 99% of my possessions, including a paid off vehicle that I had. Somewhere in the planning stage, something amazing happened. I learned how to live full-time on cruise ships for $2,000 a month, and I created a YouTube channel that supports my lifestyle. I was 53 at the time, retired without millions, and I now live a life that I don't need a vacation from. Now I realize that for a lot of people like me, retirement is a lie. I'm quote unquote broke, but I'm still retired from a traditional 9 to 5, and I'll likely never live in the US again. How did I end up here? I grew up in poverty, and I've never been rich. While raising my kids with my first husband, God rest his soul, he worked up through the ranks in Red Lobster, from starting off at dishwasher all the way up to one of the head chefs at one of their restaurants. And he was a district, I don't know what it was called, but he would go to different restaurants as the head of the cooks at Red Lobster. And I went from working in fast food restaurants to becoming a secretary, and then 18 years as a property manager for low-income apartments and government housing projects over in Orlando, Florida. And I was never quite quote-unquote rich. I worked, I paid taxes, I had 3 kids, and had a house in the suburbs. I followed all the script. I went back to school when I was 40, and I got my accounting degree. And shortly after that, my first husband passed away from gout. I worked as an accountant for 10 years, and I was remarried for 7 years. So yeah, I did all the things that I was supposed to do. I kept my head above water, just like millions of other Americans. In 2023, I got a reality check from my doctor, who told me that stress was physically killing my body, and that got my attention. I absolutely love my job, but the current environment that I was in was super toxic. My relationship and my marriage was strained, and I was ready to leave. I talk more about those things in this video here. There's going to be a link in the video description, so you can check that out if you want the details about that. Long story short, the stress in my life was affecting my health. I went on a solo cruise, and I got clarity. While I was on that cruise, that was October 2023, I cried, I prayed, I meditated, I cried some more. I asked myself, why was I not making changes? I'm a whole grown woman with a whole grown life, and I get to make my own decisions. Why am I not making changes? What exactly am I waiting for? A better economy? A better boss? A better marriage? Better politicians? At some point, I realized that nobody was coming to save me. I was going to have to save myself. So I sat down and I started doing the math. The math changed everything. I asked myself, what if I stopped trying to make America affordable? What if I found someplace affordable instead? That led me down a rabbit hole of YouTube videos and researches and all kinds of things. I started researching about housing, about healthcare, about the cost of food, transportation options, traveling to see my kids and grandkids, living abroad, living in different cities, living in other countries, living part-time here, part-time there, living in an RV, transforming my SUV into a live-in van, all the things. And when I finished, the number shocked me. I discovered that there were many people who were retiring abroad with less money, and they were living amazing lives for under $1,000 a month. The retirement industry tells you make more money, save more money, invest more money, wait longer. And I started asking, what if I simply spent less? That question changed my life. And eventually, it led me to the craziest decision I've ever made. I gave America my resignation letter. I sold my house, I got divorced, I quit my job, and I gave away 99% of my possessions in that order. And yes, some people thought I was crazy, and some people still do. But here's what they didn't understand. I wasn't running away from America. I was running towards freedom. Those are not the same thing. I wasn't trying to be rich. I wasn't trying to live a glamorous life. Listen, I was just trying to become free. Retire without millions. If this idea of needing less instead of earning more is interesting to you, I created a course called Retire Without Millions. It's for people who aren't sitting on huge retirement accounts and they want to explore alternative ways of thinking about retirement. It's some teaching videos of me showing you how to create a financial plan so you can retire without millions like I did. It also includes some downloadable worksheets and some online calculators that will do the math for you. There's a link in the video description if you want to see a preview so you can see if it's something that you would like to use. Now, let's keep going because what happened next surprised even me. The cruise ship accident. When I finally decided enough was enough and I was going to leave America, I was planning on leaving America. I was going to live in Mexico or Portugal or even South Africa. I thought about van life and I thought about different things, but living in these other countries and seeing other Americans do it as expats, it was really intriguing to me, and I knew that I could afford to do it after I had crunched the numbers. I was not thinking anything about living full-time on cruise ships. That was the last thing from my mind. Then I accidentally discovered something completely different, and it completely broke my retirement calculator. When I was on that solo cruise, I learned about getting a free cruise. I now believe it was fate because the timing couldn't have been more perfect. I made a plan to leave my job April 1st, 2024, and I booked a free cruise for April 15th, thinking that between now and then, I'll apply for some new jobs and I'll maybe start a new job in May of 2024. This cruise was going to be time for me to just decompress and take a little mini vacation before I started a new job. What I didn't see coming was never getting any callbacks after applying for over 100 accounting jobs, including for several positions within my own company. I might have blamed it on not being a good fit or not being the best candidate for the job, but that could not be true because I never even got calls for interviews. That was my very first experience with ageism. Nobody was looking for 52-year-old accountants. They were getting people from straight out of college and paying them as little money as they could. Just before it was time for me to act on my plans to quit my job, I found out that my husband was up to some shenanigans that I just could not put up with, and I wasn't going to put up with it. But I knew in my heart of hearts that it was still time for me to go. So I moved forward. I divorced him. I took my stuff and moved temporarily in with my daughter, and I still quit my job. I talk more about the transition in this video right here, but eventually I found myself living full-time on cruise ships for around $2,000 a month, less than many Americans spend on housing alone. And suddenly, friend, the entire retirement equation changed for me. The second surprise. The money was only half the story. The bigger surprise was how I felt. I was much calmer, I was much happier, I was definitely less stressed. I stopped waking up thinking about work. I wasn't worried about being entangled in a relationship that wasn't good for me. I stopped counting down to retirement because retirement wasn't some future event anymore. I was living it now. That's when I realized something. The biggest retirement lie isn't about money. The biggest retirement lie is about time. We're told to delay living until someday, and someday isn't guaranteed. What retirement really means. Most people define retirement as not working, but I don't. I still work. I make these videos. I run my YouTube channel. I answer comments. I travel. I plan. I create things. The difference is I choose it. Retirement isn't about doing absolutely nothing. Retirement is about control. The biggest objection. I can already hear somebody saying, well, that's nice for you, Linnell, but I can't live on a cruise ship. And that's okay. This video isn't really even about a cruise ship. The cruise ship is just a vehicle. Your answer might be something completely different. This is about questioning assumptions. What assumptions are keeping you trapped? What if the answer isn't more money? What if the answer is a different lifestyle? What if the answer is smaller, simpler, less expensive, different? The real lie. The lie isn't Social Security, the lie isn't Medicare, and it isn't retirement itself. The lie is believing that your life has to be put on hold until somebody else says that it's okay for you to start living. That was the lie that I believed for decades, until I stopped believing it. Friend, what are you waiting for? I'm not telling you to quit your job, definitely not telling you to sell your house, and for sure I'm not telling you to move on cruise ships. What I'm asking you is this: what are you waiting for? And who told you that you had to wait? 2 years ago, I stopped waiting, and that decision completely changed my life. Thanks for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope to see you on the next cruise.